Okay, so here we go. This is a tutorial, or at least a little run through on Simply Analytics. I'm not going to cover everything that you can do with this program or any of the other programs, but I do really encourage you to play around with them. These are important tools, but even more than that, perhaps the most important thing I or any other professor can teach you is that you've got to teach yourself, because I have no idea what tools are going to be available when you graduate. Um, I'm not even exactly sure what sort of information will be available when you graduate. So the ability to look at a tool, read the tutorials, look up more information on the internet, and sort of muck around with it enough until you know how to use it is really, really important. So that's enough on that. Let's get into Simply Analytics. So you log in, right? There I am, logging in. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project. And the new project is going to be for my home zip code of Pompano Beach. And what we start off with is medium household income in a map. I get medium household income, percentage of education, and the kind of housing I live in, right? And I can edit the view. So the first thing I'm going to do is add some more data to this place here. I want to look at age, whoops, okay, so age, total median population, no, I don't want to do that. Let's try this again. View actions, I don't want the fucking map. Delete view. There we go, data. Projects, and I want a comparison report. Let's start from there. So I'm going to start a new project, and this new project is for my zip code where I live. And the variables they add automatically are household income, education, and housing, which may or may not be what I want. But what I will tell you is what I don't want is the map view. I want a comparison view. So I'm going to edit my view. I'm going to manage my project. There we go, manage my project. I'm going to choose comparison report, which is not a map, and that's pretty important here. And I do that for location. And so now I'm going to look at the comparison report. And I have, and so here you see the three variables. We have the medium household income, the education, and 0.15% of the housing is built in 1939 or earlier, which is a very weird uh, data point. Not sure exactly why we have that. So I'm going to add more data that is of interest to me. So I'm going to look for population data. And what I'm interested in is household data, right? So let's say I have a product or a service and I am targeting a certain household income, I want to know what the average or the household income is per capita. Who's making money, right? I also may want to know the size of the household. Right? Can close that. And now I have the household income per capita, right, is 28. And the house, we still have the, let's take out that darn, the housing one. I really don't want that one. Let's see, where are we? Um, let's go back to income. Median household income, okay, average household income perhaps, which actually I probably don't want. Personal income, household income total. And I also might want, let's just say I've got a demographic idea. I am presuming I want middle income. So I'm going to say the number of households with an income 50 to 75,000 and maybe 75 to 100,000. That's middle income. A little high, but middle income depending on who you are. What else do I want? I'm going to look at education. So um, perhaps I'm going to pitch these to people who have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a doctorate degree, oh, maybe an associate's degree too, because I'm looking for people who value education. I'm interested in the number of males versus the number of females. This is under education. Okay, actually, that's not where I want to do this. Back to income, jobs, poverty, language, ancestry, households. Here we are, back into households. Um, I want to know what the annual size is. I want to know the percent of family households by age. And the household growth between both the forecast and the previous growth, and the number of households with people under 6 and 6 to 17, or the percentage of households. Let's see. And the number of households with under, okay, there we go. That's what I was looking for, was the number of households. All right, so this is a lot of information, but let's see what we get when we take a look at it. We go done. And so what do I have here? The median household income in this uh, zip code is $52,000, right? Of that, 20% of these people have college education of some sort. That's good, for instance, if I'm looking to do something that involves, educating children, right? Because these people probably value an education because they have an education. It doesn't mean that people who don't have an education don't value it, but I'm going to start off, as I said, fairly conservatively. So I'm pitching to a median household income that is a middle income group, right? And I'm trying to find I'm thinking that I got 20% here of people who have some sort of higher education. Um, the household income per capita, I don't think I'm going to use that one. The average household income in 2006. So the median is what's in the middle. The average is when you add them all together and divide by the number, right? You get the average. The total personal income in my neck of the woods is, what is that? Is that $1 billion? And the total household income is roughly $1.5 billion. Uh, the number of households with incomes in that bracket that I was looking at, 50 to 75,000, is 3,752. Things are looking good for finding a middle income sort of group of people in here. I'm going to go down here into household average size is 3 people. Well, okay, it's 2.6 people. So I have a lot of people who have one child and some who have no children. But we don't have a lot of families with multiple children, right? Um, this is the one, household growth. From 2016, the number of households that moved into the area or otherwise people got married, the number of households that increased was 7%, and I'm forecasting that this is going to fall off. So we're going to see a slowing down of growth of people in households. Consumer behavior, I can look at do they have cell phones and telephones, right? Okay, so I'm going to go here and say I want to add, here you go. So the number of households owning cellular telephones. This tells me if I'm going to consider doing a mobile strategy. I would be surprised if we didn't have a lot of cell phones, but you should check, right? If I want to do something, if I'm going to do something that involves selling a product for a landline, or if I'm going to do polling with a group that can really only reach a landline, then I need to know how many households have a landline. If I want to know the number of households having 2 cellular telephones, I can take a look at that. If I want to look at the number of people who have telephone calling cards, I can look there. I can also, for instance, maybe I've got a pet related um, business that I'm thinking about. I can find out how much people spend on pet accessories, right? How much they spend on pet food, how much they spend on pet supplies and medicine. Let's see, technology. Here we go, here's technology. And as I add consumer behavior variables, the options that I have here increase, right? So personal computers own at home. I want to know that, right? Number of tablets owned at home. Again, talking mobile strategy or social media use, right? And this is the different kinds of computers. I don't really need to know that. I don't know if they have a fax. We can look at lifestyle information. And because I'm mushing this all together, I have to figure out where the new lifestyle information is. All right, come on, done with technology here. Maybe I want to know if people are using wireless keyboards, wireless mice. No, I want actually, that's not of the least bit of interest, nor is who uses Unix. Maybe pull out technology for a moment. Pull out pets. Pull out cell phones, and I've got lifestyle left. Okay, so household buying attitudes, perhaps? Are they members of civic clubs? Are they members of unions? Are they members of AARP? If I am targeting people who are joiners, or again, school board, right? If I'm looking at some sort of educational opportunity for children, I might want to know um, how many people here are a member of a school or a college board, because they are, again, more likely to value education. And so you can see we've got travel, um, and then when I'm done, I close this, and you can see the information is going to all end up here. And you play with it until you find something that's giving you information that you think is important. So you start looking at the business, right? And who do you see as being the people who will use this business? And you can be pretty broad when you start, although, again, I want you to end up with a small target market. But you are broad when you start, and then you start seeing where are the spikes? Where can I be the narrowest and yet get the most people? Now, if you wanted to see, for instance, let's go back to a map, right? And I want to look at income, right? Let's say that I was doing something that required a very high income group of people, right? And what do I see here? As I zoom out, right? Where are the rich people? Well, in Florida, the people making between 65 and 144,000 are in West Palm, and they're really in the Naples area, right? I mean, and we all know there are very, very wealthy people, particularly on the east coast of West Palm Beach, but if we were curious about that, we could certainly see it here. I mean, that's where Margot Lar is, where our president owns a home, right? And there's a lot of pretty wealthy retired people in Naples and Marco Island, right around here, with waterfront homes. And as we zoom in, we can start to see here, right, that again, it's West Palm Beach is pretty wealthy. But then this is the sort of the western suburbs here. Also are pretty wealthy, 75,000 and above. As we zoom in, you'll get more categories, so you'll be able to pinpoint more accurately where sort of a high income audience is. So that's another way to use Simply Analytics. For instance, if we look at, here's my little zip code, right? If we zoom into my little zip code, what we see is right here is Lighthouse Point, and this is actually all Lighthouse Point here. Very, very wealthy little enclave, right? These houses on the water here are $500,000 easy, maybe a couple $1,000,000. And this is also a pretty affluent area there. Uh, we come over to where Professor Marsh lives, past the park. And we see that it's a more moderate income. In fact, actually, if we look right down here, how moderate will it be? I can see my neighbors that this is a apartment complex that I know about, right? But we're talking in the mid 50s, right? And I know that over here, when we go across North Dixie, we hit some lower income areas. And by lower income, I mean 40 to 53. These are um, medium income uh, families, but they probably don't have quite as much to spend on a luxury item, right? So this is another way. If you're looking for a place to put a business, right, you can use the map that way, which is kind of cool. Um, but for the purposes of what I asked you to do is put in the zip code and then start looking at some of the category data and pull it up, manage project, in a comparison report view. I don't want to, it's not that I don't want to recommend you, it's that I don't want to do it right now. Here, my comparison report, and there it is. So here you're going to get some information. If you want, you can export this to an Excel format. If you want to do a bunch of these, save it out to Excel and start removing things that are not of interest to you, right? If you have questions about what the categories are, right? There's a help center. If you want to look at new comparison report views, if you want to, here's data providers definition and methodology, right? Definitions might be something that's interesting for us to look at. These are the demographic variables they use. These are the sources that they have here. A lot of their information comes from the census, and we'll take a brief look at the census as well. And here's some, actually, why is my map all one color, right? How do I create a custom combination? These things are of interest, and you might well, take a read and see what you figure out. I really think Simply Analytics is fun. Simply Analytics is a tool that you're going to pay a lot for, or that your company is going to pay a lot for when you get out of school. If you are interested in doing any sort of marketing or data-based public relation or strategic communication or advertising, you need to use a tool like Simply Analytics so you can quantify where and who your target is. So it's a good tool. And, you know, you've got an extra week now to frolic with it. So I hope everyone has fun. That's probably the most important thing. Have fun and learn lots.